Hello everybody. Today I'm going to talk about plurals. In English, plurals are of two categories: the regular category and the irregular category. What does the regular category of plural in English mean? It means that there is a rule for changing a noun from singular into plural. What is the rule in English to change a noun from singular into plural? The rule is adding the letter S. And everybody knows that. Good? Yes. So, when you want to turn some nouns from singular to plural, you add the letter S to them. However, the pronunciation of the letter S usually changes in some places. Sometimes the letter S, together with the letter E, which usually precedes it, is pronounced is. Sometimes the letter S is pronounced S, and sometimes the letter S is pronounced Z. What are the situations? Don't worry, I'm going to explain them. Situation number one: when a noun finishes with one of these six sounds, you need to change the letter S pronunciation into is. What are these six sounds? These six sounds are S, Sh, Z, J, J, and Ch. Let me bring you some examples. When a noun finishes with the sound S, like bus, the plural form changes into buses, buses. When the final sound of a noun is sh, like dish, again, the pronunciation of the plural form is like dishes, dishes. The third example is when a noun finishes with the sound z. What is an example? The word vase. So when you add plural s to vase, the pronunciation changes into is, like vases. The next sound is zh. When a noun in English ends with the sound zh, like garage, the pronunciation of the plural form changes into is, like garages, garages. The next example is when a noun in English finishes with the sound j, like orange. So when you add the letter S to the end of the word orange, the pronunciation changes into oranges, oranges. The final example is when a noun finishes with the word ch, ch. The example is the word watch. The word watch finishes with the sound ch. So when you add the letter S to the end, you have to add the letter E too, and then the pronunciation is watches, watches. That's all about when the letter S sounds is. What about when the letter S sounds S? If a word finishes with one of these four sounds, like p, f, k, and t, then the S is pronounced s. Let me bring you examples. The first example could be the word map. Map. The word map finishes with the sound p. So whenever a word finishes with the sound p, I mean a noun finishes with the sound p, and then you add s plural to it, then the pronunciation is s, like maps. The second example is the sound f, like the word roof. Because it finishes with the sound f and then you add the letter s, the pronunciation is s, like roofs. The third example is the sound k. For example, the word book. The word book finishes with the sound k. So when you add the letter s to it, the pronunciation changes into books. And the final sound is t. What is the example? The example is the word cat. The word cat finishes with the sound t. So when you add the letter s, the pronunciation is cats. What about the sound z for the letter s? The rest of the words, I mean the rest of regular nouns that finish with other sounds, when you add s to them, the pronunciation is always z, like wall, that changes into walls. Pen, you say pens. Camera, like cameras. And there are plenty of examples. Now, let's forget about this category of regular nouns or regular plural forms and move to the irregular plural forms. When we talk about irregular forms of nouns, we are talking about nouns that change from singular into plural but do not receive the letter S. So what happens? There are different situations. For some nouns, like sheep and fish, when you change them into plural form, nothing is added, nothing is changed. So we can say one sheep and 100 sheep, no difference. Or one fish and 100 fish. In some other nouns, only one sound changes or one letter changes, like man, which changes into man. Only one letter A changes into a letter E, right? In some other cases, the final letter of the word changes, like the word wolf, the F is dropped, V is replaced, and ES is added too. So wolf changes into wolves. In some other examples, like the word child, right? REN is added, children. In some other words, the noun is made shorter, like datum, which changes into data. Unfortunately, there are so many nouns in English which follow this irregular form of changing from singular into plural that we cannot make rules for them or we cannot put them into categories. What I just told you were some examples of irregular plural forms. I will be very happy to read your comments. I will also be very happy to have your subscriptions and your likes.